away we go. Sorry, I got snagged there. Hello, welcome to Movie Crap Live. It's been a night, but we're fucking here. An ad? Fuck off. Anyway, yes, am I live? Yes, I heard myself. It's time for the fucking show. Movie Crap Live. I'm going to send out the things. Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for being here. It was blah. I have a story for y'all. But hello, Zodberg, Wessonator, Cornbread, Austin, Classic Cameron, Dan. I love your wave there. Nathaniel Foga, K-Master, Javier Portello, Jordan Salafalo. People keep hitting me with shit. Purple Goop. We're here. We're here. Hello, not plausible. It is plausible because you're right there. The Wessonator. I think I had tech issues. No. Thank you, Ryan Waltz. I was wondering, can anyone tell me, by the way, when was the last time? This show started as a Saturday stream. We've come back. Farmer Jim. All right, let me switch. No one guess the energy drink unless there's a... Anyway, but I have an energy drink. But anyway, let me switch over. Hello, we are back in the classic thing. I actually have new lights, which... I got, there was a sale at the Home Depot, and I got these because I thought it would be cool. But no, you're good. Sorry, Austin. I didn't mean to, I wasn't mad or nothing. Just been crazy. Hello everyone. And yeah, I got this little thing here, and I can do all sorts of stuff. Like, look, jump. Wait, did you do it? Okay, jump. Yeah, and it can flash. Should I put a seizure warning? Maybe this is not a good idea. Okay, back to the... Anyway, certain points, if things are crazy, I can hit this. If things are boring, and we can wake everyone up with this light show. And now we're... Okay. I need to really figure this out. Anyway, all right. I will tell you the story of why I'm late tonight. A little late. I thought I'm going to tell you the story. I thought, my kids like Mothra. My daughter has a stuffy, as the kids call him, a stuffed animal of Mothra. I got her for her birthday. She loves it. She loves Mothra, right? So I'm like, we're going to watch Rebirth of Mothra because she loves Mothra. And in it, Mothra kind of like dies, but then like comes back. Which I was like, it's called Rebirth of Mothra. Hello, Melted Valder. And that didn't go so well, and she cried a lot. It's a lot of screaming, and I regret playing that movie. Though it was a fun movie, I don't think we're watching the sequel because she doesn't like that Mothra has green eyes and her Mothra has blue eyes. So not her Mothra. But yeah, didn't know, other than like when it's not King Ghidorah, it's like a Dizadora or something. It has like a weird name. And when that was chomping on the baby Mothra, I was like, ooh, fuck, this is like gory. For kids, it was the only part I was worried about. And yeah, so I don't know if we were trying to watch all the Mothra movies, and we watched the first one. There's only one in the 60s, and then the Return of Mothra. So... Or Rebirth Mothra. It's a fun movie. If it's a good kids movie, unless anyone needs to who really likes Mothra and cannot accept that she died. Anyway, I was like, this was a disaster. Is there a delay? Is there a delay with the audio? Death Ghidorah is the villain of that one. Shame it was only used. Yeah, Death Ghidorah was cool. Is there a delay? I don't know. Probably a little bit of a delay in case I say something. All right, Austin, I did not see what you said. It said there is an easier connection from Drake to Adam Sandler. Drake is in Ice Age 4, which connects to Peter Dinklage, who was in Pixels with Sandler from the Watch Party. Okay, all right. Cheers to you, Austin. Oh, I just like didn't realize this is an Amazon. No, well, I guess it is. It's a Whole Foods energy drink. It's berry aki. I don't even know what it's called, but this is the next one. Anyway, um, you know what? Normally, the Weston Eater, I don't. The Showa era stuff's usually fine, and this is, I guess, sort of Heisei era, and I should have been smarter about that. So I was just like, it's called Rebirth of Mothra. There's sequels. How bad could this? Anyway, cheers to you, Austin. Thank you for the first super chat of the night. Boxy, how much does she love Paul Blart, Mothra Blart, when? I we haven't, but I'm not against it because I do actually like that movie. So cheers to you, Boxy. It may happen one day. One of the better. It was interesting. One of the better Die Hard riffs in my mind. Other stuff that happened. I didn't see too many theaters this week. I do want to see Black Bag. Last night actually I let my son. We watched Captain America: Civil War, and that went well. But I do realize like it's kind of at first a real interesting sort of moral thing. I'm gonna move this camera down a bit. Sorry. This kind of interesting moral thing, and then it's like Tony Stark finds out Zemo's manipulating them, and then it's like I don't know. The whole plot of it doesn't seem as well, but it did feel like all the air went out of the room after the big superhero fight. He was like not as interesting. Those movies are really long, especially when you're showing it to a 3-year-old, but he still loves Captain America and all that. I was actually going to talk about the movie watch too, Austin. Don't worry. But yeah, those were my two, I think, big movie. I don't know. I'm like a little like blotched after getting yelled at, and I cleaned the whole place, and getting all sorts of. Anyway, I did go to a movie watch with the Discord last Saturday. I actually had a really good time. I need to stop by more. It's more of a time issue with me, is even this is hard to do, unfortunately. But I think I would like to go. It's a really good time. I was going to talk about it in the Discord part, but I had a really good time. I had a lot of fun just chilling with people, watching Jack and Jill, which is always cool. It was a legit fun time. I would like to do it again soon. I'm not sure when that will be, but I would like to do it again soon. Anyway, is there? Oh, there's no SNL tonight. You know what? I didn't realize that. So thank you. No, I did know that. And yeah, the two segments tonight are two Depression era cartoons, and both have cool stories behind them. I will say, what the fuck just happened to this? Okay, whatever. All right. Anyway, what do I have? All right, I do have some. Like both cartoons have cool backstories, which I'm excited to talk about. I didn't pick them for the backstories, but the backstories chose me, son. No, but anyway, I have. Sorry. 3 movie trivia things, and then we'll go. I actually have 3 trivia things, so here we go. The reason, this is the first one. This is a beefier one. And the last one, I need to reference a YouTube video, and I don't know what it is, so I will post it everywhere because I feel bad about it. But this is the first one. This is from The Matrix. The reason the character Switch in The Matrix has the name was because they were originally intended to be, a man and a man in real life and a woman in The Matrix. And there is a line in the movie that says your body in the Matrix is your ideal self-image, which I always thought was just, when I saw it originally, just them wearing fancy clothes and looking cool and shit. Or I think a lot of them didn't have hair in the real world and stuff. It's fairly well known that the Matrix is a trans metaphor, but the character of Switch was supposed to be the obvious part of that. The script was later rewritten because it was too hard to make it obvious who was Switch in both real life and the simulation. The Wachowskis kept the name as a homage to the concept, though. So apparently, so I always thought that was interesting, and I've read that before that they actually did. I've read theories that the studio stepped in, and apparently they were like. They're basically like this isn't translate, like they couldn't get it to work story wise, which I respect that it wasn't cut for transphobic reasons. It was cut for we can't get this to work reasons, which I think is that's fine. The middle one, which is interesting for this week, Hitler's favorite movie was Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, probably because it was really popular then. But also, so I guess, every time fascism's big, Snow White's got to come back. All right. And this last one is an interesting one. And, why not just use a name tag that says Switch? You know what? No, I'd heard the Switch thing, but I've heard so many theories, and the one that seemed the most logical was like, they just couldn't figure it out. Anyway. This last one, it kind of went viral, but there was it's the same guy I think I did a previous street thing on, and I will credit him because it was a crazy night tonight, and I couldn't, this part felt, I almost didn't get to do Betty Boop tonight, but it worked out, but this I didn't. So, but I'll say this, so we found out that the only person who's killed by Mike Myers and Michael Myers is Michael McDonald. He in Austin Powers 1 is the guy who gets like flattened basically by that steamroller thing. And then he comes back and he's also in Halloween Kills, where he's part of the gay couple who renovates Michael Myers' house, which I think is still one of my favorite things about those reboots. It's such a funny idea, but it like totally makes sense. Like that's what would happen to the house. But anyway, apparently this YouTuber, and he will be on the Discord, and the Snow White part or the Michael McDonald part? I don't think the Michael McDonald part I did, but anyway, I think you mean Snow White. Anyway, apparently this YouTuber, and I will, I did I bring up it was the same person in the Kills review? Did I do that? I didn't know that. I forgot. I'm not sure you watch this now. Anyway, so apparently, it's he watched both death scenes, and he noticed it is the same scream in both movies. Like they reused the scream from Austin Powers. And what's also interesting is Mike Myers has been approached, at least we know for H2O, and I heard rumors of another time to have a cameo in H2O, but he turned it down. And supposedly when he sends out checks, they are and says Michael Myers, a lot of people laugh at him and stuff. So, but apparently there's been several times they try to do that. I think I hear a cat I need to get out of something. So I'm going to do something really quick. Then we'll do Patreon Discord part, and then we'll start the show. Okay? Be right back. Real quick. Hold on. Sorry. 1 second. 1 second. Okay, hello. Sorry. All right. Did I really say this in the review of Halloween Kills? I didn't, because it was like going viral again. I was like, oh, people probably forgot about that. That's interesting that I didn't know that. I'm gonna have to rewatch that later, and I'll post the video of the guy mentioning the screen part. I thought that was interesting. He brings up the Baby Driver thing also. I like that guy for his trivia things and stuff. Anyway. Sorry to be pushing him so much. This and everything I do is supported by you, the fans, either through Discords on the show, which gives me energy, which trust me I need, or through the Patreon, where you get all sorts of exclusive stuff like more power in the movie review vote. You get postcards, you get exclusive content like a different version of my Not Like Us remix, which I just posted, my commentary series. You get access to my public access show, which is the only place you can really watch it. All sorts of cool stuff like that. I think I mentioned the postcards. You get postcards once a month, more interactivity, all sorts of cool stuff like that. Also helps me be able to do this and get all sorts of things like new lights and stuff, and all sorts of cool things like that. It helps me continue to be able to do the show, if of course you are financially able to. If not, just liking or watching this video is very much appreciated, and I thank you for doing so. Yes, I think that's all the things there. Yeah, anyway, so there's also the Discord, which was created by Austin, Zane Powers, run by Ryan Walterson, Cornbread. Am I forgetting anyone? Hold on. Did I say everyone? I think I said everyone. Let me look. Maybe make sure. Cornbread, Zane Powers. Awesome. I think I did it. I did it right this time. Anyway, you should join us. It's a great community. Everyone who is here in the chat is there regularly. I do all sorts of cool things, like before Movie Crap, I ask, what do you want me to talk about? All sorts of things like that. It's the Discord I'm most active in. There's an Ask Jim channel. There's a Licensed Playing Card channel, which I need to post these guys in. And all sorts of things like that. Movie discussions, cartoon discussions, all sorts of things like that. Thank you for that, Cinram. Anyway, I think we got everything. Oh, follow me on Blue Sky, which is what I'm most active on. Twitter, which is just promotional, but it always helps. Tumblr, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, all those things is in the description down below. All right, and if you'd like to do super chats to keep me going, I would appreciate it on many, many different levels. All right, and always helps me just be able to do this. And I will also question day. Thank you, Zupper. I will say also the Flyers have been doing really well on the 1 and the 3 trains. I've been getting a lot of good feedback actually. So a lot of that is actually legitimately working, because I just do that because I'm on there anyway. But now it's like I'm like, oh shit, maybe I was like right about something for once. That's neat. Oh, they're doing All Dogs Go to Heaven. Cool. I think next week the show will be Thursday, and the week after Friday is what I'm thinking, but we'll see. It's always temp days because my life is always in flux. All right, so let's talk about the Looney Tunes. I'm going to go through everything in order because it sort of doesn't make sense to me to talk about how the box office did. Coyote vs. Acme, Warner selling them. So this is all one big segment. You don't have to switch around and go between things. I will talk about last week's box office, which was kind of a big thing, later in the show as a full thing, but we will just talk about Looney Tunes first. So the day the Earth blew up actually opened 5th last week, despite literally no advertising at all, which is kind of insane. It actually did about a third of what Black Bag and Novocaine, which made about 7 and 8 million. Well, I guess about like almost half of what those films made. And those films had a marketing budget, which the day the Earth blew up, a Looney Tunes movie, did not have. In fact, a film that did worse than it, The Last Supper, didn't open as well as it did. So I think that really speaks highly of the fandom and what, and it's already made $5 million domestically, which I think brings back, I think they made money on it, Catch Up Entertainment, but it really showed there is a real love for this character, because you can literally release a movie of them and no one had heard, and not have advertising, have it do actually pretty well, which is kind of insane. Hello, Pinta Time Extras said, I saw an ad for it on Nickelodeon a few days after. Okay, I didn't know that. I think I don't know many people who watch like the regular feed of Nickelodeon. So I'm sort of surprised by that. But yes, it actually did really well. Ketchup Entertainment was sort of brought into the forefront. I think their biggest thing before this was their part of when Michael Mann made that Ferrari movie and had a ton of tiny distributors combine powers like the Megazord and release that movie, and it didn't do well. That was sort of their biggest thing. Like they had failures and successes with other things, but that was sort of Pinata Time Extras. Apologies, sorry. That was sort of their biggest thing, and this has put their name on the map. It really does show, and I'm not trying to be a little stupid here, or like self-congratulatory, but I was surprised how well it did, and I think it shows to other box office people like, holy shit, like you were able to do this with like nothing, and get to number 5, and even though it was a legitimately terrible box office weekend, like one of the worst of all time, not even joking, it still is. The only real good thing was that happened, and I think that word of mouth was so strong that people were taking people and being like, I don't care if there's no one in this theater, I'm seeing it. I think that really helped in that regard. So then we came out that like a couple days later that the Ketchup Entertainment was considering buying Coyote versus Acme for the full like $50 million. I've heard people suddenly say it was going to be 70. I don't know where they got that, because every report I read said 50, and suddenly they're like, nope, it's 70. Where'd the 20 go? I don't know why people say that. That's confusing. I saw in multiple places. I never read that, and I actually look back on things like it's always been 50. Whatever. Supposedly they are in talks with Ketchup Entertainment. I think as Ketchup Entertainment saw what happened, and they're like, well, if we actually like put effort in this time, this might actually work out even better. I'm curious. Supposedly this would not be for this year. It would be a 2026 release. 2026, from everything I've read, is a far tougher box office year. So I don't know if that's actually is a good thing. It depends on the weekend, which there aren't a lot of free ones in 2026. So I'm a little like, we'll see. But Ketchup Entertainment is trying to get more into the Looney Tunes game. And I think because they were able to figure out how to do this one, I think if they actually, spend more money and actually advertise the next one, maybe we can see what happens there. I don't know if it can, I haven't seen an actual trailer or real footage from Coyote vs. Acme, but I think we'll see about all that. But it's kind of crazy how that's going. But then, the other, especially with Ketchup Entertainment and Looney Tunes, and I don't think anyone expected it to happen the way it did. But then we heard about Warner Brothers. First off, we found out this last weekend, mid-weekend, which stinks because my family and I were watching old Looney Tunes on Max. They pulled everything off Max over the weekend, during the weekend of the day the Earth blew up, which I thought was incredibly shitty. And it's also like a lot of the stuff you can't find on YouTube, and I know I tweeted this, but like I 100% think like old cartoons would be very beneficial for someone who works at those studios to literally go and like, I'm sort of joking, but I think, if they wanted to hire me or something, but like just like go through and like make each individual cartoon a separate upload so you can like search them, because you get into them, it's so hard to find certain one of them in like good quality, and like, I can watch them on TV Tunes and they have Looney Tunes other shorts, but like if you really like a short and you want to show it to someone and it's beyond a certain thing, I mean, I know Warner's has done that with some shorts recently, but I really wish they'd like, I don't know, like why aren't you utilizing this catalog more and like putting it and making it searchable and easily to find? I just don't understand that. Like, and I mean that for not just Warner's, but also Universal and Disney and all of the companies that have like these vast libraries of classic cartoons. It would help if you could like just go on YouTube, and you could even after that, like if you want to do the stupid vertical versions of them, I really wish you wouldn't. But I do have some of the DVDs, but there's so many, and we're getting into older ones, and now that's like kind of not happening for a lot of it. So I was pretty disheartened by that. They still have the Looney Tunes, what's called Looney Tunes Cartoons, which is what The Day the Earth Blew Up is a spinoff from. I think I noticed that is not getting very much attention probably because there's so many different Looney Tunes things to talk about. But that is a legitimately great show, and it is what The Day the Earth Blew Up is sort of a spin-off from. It was while they were working on that, they were asked to make that. So to me, it's like part of that. So if you like that, please watch that show. I really do recommend it. I know Tubi's getting like some Looney Tunes shows, but they're not really getting the old cartoons, and we don't know who's getting those, if anyone's getting them. But we did learn that, and this has been speculated by like every analyst, and I think I mentioned like on the Ankler podcast years ago, like maybe almost 3 years ago, they brought up that they thought they should just sell the Looney Tunes despite being so associated with the Warner Brothers brand. They actually brought up like they're not even advertising the Looney Tunes cartoons that they made, that they spent a lot of money on. They thought it was like kind of silly. Like, why are you not advertising these things? Why don't you just get rid of it? Because you're not really being a good shepherd for this property, which is something a lot of analysts had brought up. And then I think Jeff Snyder reported that that was what he had heard, that they were considering selling the Looney Tunes, which I think would be a several $billion sale at least. But we'll see. Some people have suggested it's Ketchup Entertainment. I don't know if they have... Sorry, cat fight there. I don't know if they have the money to buy... Like, a lot of people were surprised they had the money to buy Coyote vs. Acme. I don't know if they have enough money to get the Looney Tunes, but I'm also like, aren't Warner Brothers, don't they have, like, theme parks with Looney Tunes characters in them? Like, to me, it's like, aren't you making money off of that? Like, wouldn't that mess up? I thought they do have those things. So, like, what would that do to that element? Like, to me, it's like, I don't know. The thing with The Day the Earth Blew Up, it's like not a really expensive movie. So, I'm a little confused why they couldn't deal with that themselves. I don't know. I'm sort of surprised by Warner Brothers in general sometimes, but and they're not doing well. That's the next thing I'm going to talk about. But yeah, the fact that they are actually considering selling it, and this has been a long proposed idea, more by entertainment analysts than anyone, but they all kind of didn't get like what their goal was with the Looney Tunes. And it's saying it was confused, and it's always been confused. And I think it sort of sucks that they can't just like, I don't know, they could have that weekend said, here are, Looney Tunes cartoons, like go check them out. The Day the Earth Blew, like pretty easy things like that. But even like Disney treats their older stuff a little better, but not really, because they only have certain ones, and then they put a ton of ads on, through the old, like one of them I couldn't watch with my kids because we had like 3 ad breaks during a 7-minute cartoon, which I was like, okay, this is just stupid at this point. Like, you're just fucking with me. Like, so I don't know. I think them selling it, honestly, like if there was a company that would treat them right and actually promote them and put them, on TV in right times, and, make content for theaters, or even do like, hey, we're doing a Fandango event, it's the best of Tex Avery, best bugs of Tex Avery, or best Daffy Tex Avery, or Bob Clampett, or Chuck Jones, or anybody like that. Like, I think like utilize this property, because you just showed what you could do with just word of mouth. I think like this shows like, if you're going to do it right, what you could do, and budget it correctly, because The Day the Earth Blew Up was like fairly cheap for a movie like that. So I don't know, to me it's like you're just like throwing money away at a property that you have all the intellectual property. I don't know, to me it's like there's so many pretty obvious things you could do with it, and like I don't know. But I also don't, I've seen people post Universal. I actually don't want Universal to have them, because Universal has the Felix the Cat's rights, and it has the Woody Woodpecker rights, and it has like a lot of characters that they don't do fucking shit with. And it's like, well, I don't want them actually having, these characters, to be honest with you. I think it would probably end up being between, let's see, Disney, Apple, or even Amazon, but I just don't see it going to, I don't actually want it to go to Universal, because they do not do anything. like it's like Felix the Cat. Like why do you even have, like, I don't know. To me, it's like some of these companies just have these properties to have them, but like what, like you could be doing such really easy shit. Like I you know, I honestly think like if you were someone, if you were running any of these companies and you can't just like set up the ad things on YouTube, like I'm just a fucking stupid dumbass in his apartment like talking on the camera and I could do it better than you, is like kind of an insult to the industry at large. Like just hoarding it in a locker is not really working out anymore. Unless like if you're restoring it, I'm like with you, like take your time, restore it. But if you're not, like what do you do? You're just like not making money basically, and taking away real art and cinematic tradition from people. For what purpose? I just never thought. But yeah, like Apple TV having all the Looney Tunes, because the only legacy thing they have is Fraggle Rock. I think the only thing that not made in the 2010s or 20s they have is Fraggle Rock. They might have bought some strange ass movies rights at some point, but they really don't. So I don't know. We'll see, but it's sad to talk about that. It's but I think it's like probably necessary for the brand to continue. But I want it to go to someone who will actually do it. I just don't see that with Universal, who doesn't do jack shit with it. So I mean, but with Apple, like, do they promote the new Peanuts stuff very well? Not really. Every time I've gone on there, but you know, oh yeah, Paramount has Betty Boop. Paramount has so many, and they don't do anything with that. So it's just like, you know, I think maybe the problem with Looney Tunes is it's still a brand that like can demand attention, but like no one's sure what to do with these legacy cartoons, and they're not really good at it. Hello, Caden. How's it going? So since we're talking about Warner Brothers, and I don't mean to be shitting on them too much, but they are the company run by Zaslav, and they do sort of suck. Supposedly, things at Warner Brothers are not good. Not that they have been, but I think they're a little worried. You have two people who run the domestic who run production are concerned. Mickey 17, I think they're sort of caught in a similar situation to every pundit in the world was saying, well, what are you going to do with Joker 2? You have a guy who's in just won an Oscar and, you know, had $1 billion hit, and like he comes to you with this budget and this thing, and like you're kind of, as a studio, just supposed to say yes so he won't go somewhere else. That's 100% of the thing that happened with Bong Joon-ho with Mickey 17. And they're freaking out because they're like, we got $100 million. We gave this kid $100 million. He won the Palme d'Or. He was the first non-English language film to win Best Picture. He has all this hype around him, and the movie is just not doing well based on budget. It's just like there's no way around that at all. But as well as there's some like the thing with Superman is there's been some reactions, and like I will say I know like some pundit people complaining on Twitter is annoying, but I will agree that like people getting upset with them for saying like I heard this reaction about Superman, I heard this reaction, all they're doing is reporting. So like I don't understand that, to be honest with you. But most people believe Superman will probably be good. There have been negative reactions out there, but that, you know, people can have reactions to anything. It doesn't mean we'll see the movie. There is a large concern about Sinners, particularly because they made a deal with Ryan Coogler where he gets the copyright back after a certain time. And there is a concern, if you run a studio, you're supposed to not only be building, you know, getting money in and keeping the regular yearly gross, but as well as adding to the library. And Sinners, in effect, they're not doing that because they're going to lose the rights. So it doesn't really go that well. In fact, Warner Brothers tried to stay away from deals like that with who was it? Who has the guy? It wasn't Nolan. It was Tarantino. That's right. They wouldn't sign a deal with Tarantino because that's what he wanted for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and he got it at Sony. And they're like, well, we can't lose a big movie like we did with Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. So we'll do it with Ryan Coogler. But they were like so against letting Nolan do that, which I don't know if he got with Oppenheimer. I don't know if he did. But It's interesting because he is sort of, Nolan is the biggest director in the world, but I don't think he could do that. But I guess maybe at the budget level it gets a little confusing. But anyway, so Sinners is a big thing with them. They're worried about their whole slate. They actually pushed The Bride, which is this Maggie Gyllenhaal directed Bride of Frankenstein musical thing, because they're worried about pushing down the thing. So I Warner's is not in a good place right now. But a lot of people said, like, well, it's a Michael B. Jordan, Ryan Coogler movie. Like, at a certain point, like, even the lowest intake of that is still going to be pretty high. So they might just, like, do well based on the averages or something. I think Superman will be a pretty big hit. I know some people said there's been some reactions that are like, well, we don't like the James Gunn quippiness and so forth. And I'm like, okay, but like part of me is like, what people generally like that. The last one was Guardians 3, which everyone likes. So I don't know. Sometimes I think this movie's been getting over analyzed before it came out, and then when it does, then people are like, I expect a James Gunn quippy movie. So I don't know, but those seem to be the two biggest concerns, particularly after Mickey 17. I do think Warner's and a lot of studios should stop doing the thing where they're like, well, what were you supposed to do? He won an Oscar and made all this money, and we had to approve it. It's like a lot of different people have said, and I agree with it as well, is like they get like part of your reasoning, but is Minecraft doing more? Is Warner Brothers doing Minecraft? Is it? I didn't know that. It's funny. In all the things I read about it, they don't bring out. Let's see, Minecraft. I'm not sure. Minecraft movie. Is it Warner Brothers? I thought it was like not for some reason. Is it really? Oh, that's interesting. They don't bring that up because I thought that. Okay, all right. Wow. Thank you for bringing that up. Who was it first? Medela Butterfly. That's interesting. Why don't they bring that up? To me, that's like going to be a hit. Huh. Okay. I'm glad you brought that up. Thank you for doing that. Yeah, I'm a little confused about. Okay, maybe. I mean, I don't know how much it'll make because I'm not sure how many people are really gonna. YouTuber Valkyrie. Who is that? I don't even know who that is. Is gonna make a cameo appearance in the film. Okay then. I was looking at the Wikipedia, as they say. Okay, Ryan says, to be fair, it's a legendary production released by Warner Brothers, so it's more like they're in control. Okay, still, but I mean, Critical Bomb. I'll say this, Pinata Time Extras. I know a lot of people say it was a critical hit. Studios don't care. Nobody cares. Like when people say it was a critical hit, I'm like, what, with a bunch of losers like me? Nobody, it just doesn't. The studio, unless it basically the studio, it's like, did it get awards? Did it get money? It did neither of those things. Sounds like we failed. That's kind of how it works. So, all right, moving on. Sorry, moving on. I'm not trying to Pinata Time Extra. I wasn't trying to call you out. I'm just saying the idea of people saying that. Sorry. Anyway. It is all about the money. You're right, Cornbread. I didn't know. By the way, I learned on, not to call you out, Cornbread, but I learned on the movie watch that Cornbread is like this very mysterious person. I find that really interesting. No one knows what Cornbread sounds like. Cornbread's a mystery. I didn't know this. Anyway, apologize to bring up your mystery, Cornbread. Okay, so wait, what is going on with Zodberg and this cat thing? Is this a real thing? Anyway, and if anyone wants to do super chats, my whatever plant-based energy drink is right there. Okay, so this is one of the weirdest and probably telling about television nowadays stories that I've done in a long time. American Dad was on Fox. It premiered on Fox. I finally put out that video sort of semi recently about the pilot of American. He's got a cat. Yeah, thanks, Cardwood. Um, so it's been on TBS for like 10 years or something. TBS is like, we're not paying for more American Dad. It's over. Sorry. So American Dad is ending. And so they're like, well, what do we do with American Dad? Because apparently, like, this show can't end or something. I don't really get it. But supposedly, the top place to take it is Fox, which is hilarious that, like, TBS, like, we don't have a use for this American Dad. What are we going to do with it? And then the network that canceled it in the first place is now like, oh, okay, well, I mean, we're terrestrial, we're traditional TV, and things are not going great for us. So we're just gonna send this back to the network because it's so devalued. Like, what? Here's the real thing. What got more devalued? Did American Dad add more value, or did Fox get less value, or did their value changes decrease and increase in the right way so that it'll come together there? I think it's also like, I know Fox is incredibly not happy at how much oh, hey, Riley Russian is incredibly salty about that Seth MacFarlane always goes to Universal, particularly because they never sign off on his shit. But yeah, I mean, supposedly the Hulu element of American Dad is part of it, but it is literally kind of funny that it's basically like American Dad is is gonna go to Fox because that's like where you go. Like, you can't, like, how could you go to where do you go after TBS? And apparently, like, the step down is now traditional TV. When American Dad started on TBS, it was considered a step down, and now it's like different. I've never heard of that before. That's kind of interesting. I mean, who knows, like, where it will go and, like, what Fox's plan with it, or if it will. Honestly, if I was Universal, I would probably try to do it then, like, try to get American Dad, because you have a deal with Seth MacFarlane and would help out those relationships. I don't know, like, what Seth MacFarlane is doing, but the Westonator, thank you for Super Chats. This stretch, but wouldn't it be funny if Superman gets a Best Picture nom, then DC'd get in on this first outing when it took the MCU 18. You know what that would be? I actually always thought Iron Man should have been nominated, but I know more people were like way more into the Dark Knight and all that. But cheers to you, Westonator. That would be entertaining. I will say it would be entertaining. I think it would mean, because they only have Black Panther. So what did that mean? They've had two recent DC movies get Best Picture noms, even though Joker's like Elseworld and all that. But yeah, that would be funny. Cheers to you, Westonator. Again, I know I say this every time, but check out his TikTok and all that. And YouTube, just TikTok. Check it out anyway. He's got some good stuff. Anyway, it's just interesting that that's where we are with American Dad. In other Seth MacFarlane news, the original pilot, not the one that aired, but a different version of it, came out, was leaked this week. I watched it since I've watched the pilot semi recently. It really is just like a worse version of it. I didn't really notice. I didn't watch them like side by side, but I was like kind of not super feeling it in terms of like even talking. I was gonna talk about it on here, but I'm not really doing a separate video because I felt like at a certain point it's like watching a demo of a song you like and you're like, oh, looks like they made good decisions. Like, it's, I don't know. I do feel like sometimes with this, with finding media and stuff, nobody goes like, oh yeah, I probably wasn't meant to see this. You know, you know what I mean? It's like, there's probably a reason they kept this hidden from me. And then you see it and you're like, oh, okay. Because I noticed there wasn't a ton of videos and stuff about it. It seemed like a lot of people were like, yeah, I'll check it out. It just doesn't really like blow your mind. It's kind of like, oh, cool. It's worse. Some of the voices are different. Neat. It just wasn't. I don't know. I just thought wasn't if you want to, if you're a Family Guy fan, you're like, holy shit, I've always wanted to watch this. I'm not trying to shit on you. I'm just saying it just wasn't exciting. Other than okay, cool. It's just not mind melting or something. So we've learned that the Disney Pixar announced at the end of a dumb presentation or whatever that they are trying to make a Coco 2. I'm not super into this idea because it's sort of like a one movie sort of thing. And I don't really get it, but I sort of tweeted these or blue sky these or whatever, but I'll repeat them here. I have two ideas on how to make a Coco sequel. One is that everything's fine, but people will not accept that Ernesto de la Cruz didn't write those songs, and so they keep him on the ofrendas, and his big party still happens, actually gets bigger because people are so defiant. They like hate cancel culture so much. They're letting Ernesto de la Cruz continue. They refuse to believe that Hector wrote those songs and like stop watching his movies and stuff. And like it just actually gets worse than it was before. And then my other one is get Jorge Gutierrez to do it. Just like the other guy retired, he's not coming back. Just get Jorge Gutierrez to do it. Like just like or if I was Jorge Gutierrez. Be like, all right, guys, you said it's coming out in 2029. Well, Book of Life 2 is coming out in 2029. Watch out. That's what I would do. One or the other. So I saw like there's this thing that was, I guess, sort of viral or whatever, but I thought it was a funny tweet where it was like, good thing asbestos. They discovered there's something wrong with asbestos back in the day because if it was now, people would lead like taking pictures with asbestos and like sleeping in asbestos and like being really, like they would intentionally harm themselves because they wanted to get mad at people and stuff like that. I kind of I totally think that would happen nowadays if asbestos was discovered now because people are so against like cancel culture and stuff, which I never understand. Those people are like, are you saying like Cosby didn't do all those things? Like I don't like some of that stuff I'm like, you don't you can just do whatever you want. Like I don't know. I always find it very. Both of the directors are coming back. I thought he retired. Is that true, Javier Portillo? Okay, if that's true, but whatever. I find people need to get over the whatever. All right. Speaking of dumb shit, Joe Russo said some stuff, and man, I will say, okay, I'm gonna say this about Joe Russo. So I watched Civil War with my son. He was very excited to see a Captain America movie. He's like super into Captain America right now. I have no clue why, but he's really into it. And like the action in that movie and like the movement of that film is so like, it's like Spielberg where like I noticed there's like logic gaps, but you're so in it, you're like with it. Like Spielberg was always good at like, this doesn't make sense, but momentum of the movie wise, it works. They were so good at that back in the day. And then I did see the Electric State. I don't know if I'll shoot a review or not. Just because it's like so, it's not good. But I agree with everyone who's like they are traffic cops. Like they should just be doing sequels of movies. Like I think I heard on somewhere someone said if they had done episode 9, it probably would have been good. And I'm like, yeah, I actually agree with that. But they just can't like create stuff. Like they can't make Force Awakens, but they probably could have done a better episode 9 because they're just very good traffic cops. Like they're very good studio directors. That is like they're so good at that. And then you put them in charge of anything, and they don't do it. They're like so bad. It's like really remarkable. I have never seen like they're like the Martin Campbell effect, where it's like he makes like these amazing, great studio films. And then like anything else is like fucking like it's like Casino Royale, Green Lantern. It's like Mask of Zorro, some movie nobody gives a shit about, Goldeneye, and then it's like fuck up something else. It is like they're Martin Campbell all the way. It is like you he did two of the probably the two best Bond movies of my lifetime, and then like some real fucking garbage shit. Like they're very specific. There's certain directors who are like, you should just do this one thing or be a craftsman, and you were so amazing at it, and they're like, but I want to do something more. And at first you're like, you should, and then you see it and you're like, I wish you had never done that. That is horrible. No, Green Lantern is a studio movie. My issue is not he's making a studio movie. It's like, you're good at doing the framework of somebody else's thing. You're not good at creating things. And that is like 100% Martin Campbell, and the Russo brothers are the same shit. But how does Zane Powers asks, how does Anthony Russo compare to Joe? Anthony Russo shuts the fuck up and doesn't do cameos in his movies. That's the difference. You can tell Joe Russo is always the one who does cameos. Cheers to you, Zane Powers. Anyway, you thought I discussed everything with the Russos, but Joe Russo said, basically his quote was basically about that popular movies used to be a thing at the Oscars, but then the Weinsteins happened, and then popular movies were not as cool at the Oscars. And yeah, that's wrong, because Shakespeare in Love, sure, not the biggest movie of the year it came out, but still made over $100 million. English Patient made a shit ton of money. Chicago was a legitimately huge hit, which is also a Miramax movie. In fact, I can't think of a Miramax film that won Best Picture that wasn't a massive hit also. Like Good Will Hunting was it's like, it's a really stupid thing to say. And the Russo, I wish he hadn't. The thing is, like, I do get the thing that comic book people are like, why didn't Endgame get a Best Picture nomination? Why didn't, these movies were so big, and like the studio system working, and like there's a certain art to like all these cohesions and all this shit. But at the same time, I want to be like dude, like just like come on. Like at a certain point, it's like, how many of the 10 highest grossing movies do you got? And this is like, you're upset Coda beat you. Like, come on. Like, it's like I'm just like, I'm not here for your dumb ego shit. I did hear, okay, Austin, I have known actually about the Daisy Ridley window washer Die Hard movie for a while. That does sound interesting, but the thing is like, that is an established structure. That's why I think Martin Campbell would be good at it. I've heard people, wasn't like C. Martin Cargill tweeting about that tonight or something? I've seen it going, but yeah, I don't know. The thing with the Weinsteins is like, a lot of that Oscar stuff they pushed is not great. I think they had a real great period in the 90s, and obviously they had Tarantino and all that stuff. But like a lot of that stuff, like, do you really want to watch like The Iron Lady and The Reader, and like some of that stuff is real awful. Like I know I always hated when, after the Harvey Weinstein was canceled, people were like, well, they're such great producers. I'm like, I mean, they weren't really that great producers. It's like, they're just really good at selling Oscar movies, and that's why the industry is upset. But they were good at making Oscar movies that would make money, but they weren't like, didn't they like shit on Scorsese all the time? Didn't they like get threatened by Hayao Miyazaki? Didn't like Kevin Smith, I think, said it once. It's like, yeah, he worked out for Kevin Smith, Robert Rodriguez, and Quentin Tarantino, and two of those guys it didn't sort of work out in certain respects too. It's just like a very strange. I just think he sucked all around. Like he was just a weird dude who sucked, and like just admit it. Like, I don't understand why we're preserving his film legacy. It's like, come on. Anyway, sorry. Did you really like the Jordan? Is that a joke? I don't think he did Moulin Rouge, did he? I thought that was like, anyway, whatever. Did Jordan Schlafly like the? Now I'm confused. I don't know if he's messing with me or not. I don't know. Anyway, so this is sort of DC news, but I wanted to acknowledge it. I am under the impression that this is not a big thing, but a lot of people think it is. So this is one of those, Jim acknowledges something for continuity's sake. So when we talk about it in like a different one, and it like matters, maybe you can be like, remember he said that, and then it's like, this is like why, yeah. Marvel should do that sometimes. Like, I'm gonna like come back, just like remember me I'm Harry Styles. I'm Thanos' brother. It might not, but like just in case, I'm here. Um, uh, thank you, Nathaniel. So apparently, Colin Farrell is rumored to be cast in Sergeant Rock after Daniel Craig left. A lot of people are looking into that there is some big, huge battle between Matt Reeves and James Gunn. Is there any legitimate proof of this? No, there isn't. This is made up by people who talk about movie news. If anyone can find me a time Matt Reeves is like, I like working for James Gunn, but he fucking sucks. Or James Gunn's like, who fucking sucks? Matt Reeves. There's no evidence of this at all. Now, Matt Reeves is taking his sweet ass time to make Batman 2, which is what everyone's reading into. But I'm also like, Matt Reeves also takes his sweet ass time to make anything. So I'm totally like, I don't think that's what's actually going on. I do think there's probably some like, what do we do about the Batman thing? And they do have to sort of figure that out. But I just don't think there's a battle. I think it's like, if I was James Gunn, I would realize I have way too many DC characters to think about, and Batman's dealt with someone else, and I can build everybody up just like the MCU did, because they didn't have X-Men, they didn't have Spider-Man. Like, why was it a big deal that Spider-Man was in the MCU? That's how big the MCU got. He's like a huge character like Spider-Man. Being in it was the big deal. So it's like, I think it's people wanting there to be a thing. Also, Colin Farrell as the Penguin is very different looking than just Colin Farrell by himself. So like you could, and I don't think Sergeant Rock and the Penguin ever crossed over. I'm not the biggest DC person. That just doesn't sound like a thing to me. Maybe they can be in the same thing, but I'm sure Colin Farrell would love to play both parts. But like, let's just like if it comes out they did really hate each other, we acknowledged it. It's like, I think this is the same thing where the Blake Lively lawsuit, where I'm just like, I'm never gonna care. I'm sorry. It's like, at a certain point, it's just like some of these stories go on way too long, and that the Matt Reeves James Gunn thing is part one of them, but the Blake Lively one's obviously worse. But I just leaving that alone. Anyway, any Sergeant Rock fans? Yeah, I actually would like to know. Are there any Sergeant? Wait, does Jordan Slaflo? Wait, hold on. We gotta stop. Jordan Slaflo, I generally like to read her. I even read the book. That doesn't make any sense. How could the reader write a book? The reader can't read. Like, duh. Like, he hasn't even seen the movie. This is all made up. How could the reader write a book? The reader can't read. Unless, like, that's the whole point of the book. And it's all nonsense. And at the end, you're like, oh shit, I don't think this author can read. That doesn't sound like a good book. All right. Start. None of this makes any sense. It's like they can't even read. That would be long day. All right. Apparently, speaking of fascism, the reader more like the liar. So apparently, if you're ever like, hey, does Neil Blomkamp have really bad opinions on things? Well, guess what, guys? We don't need to wonder. He thought, let's make a new version of Starship Troopers, but in this time, let's keep all the fascist stuff in it, and let's make it less critical of fascism. Sorry. No, but for real, he wants to make a legitimate, faithful remake of Starship Troopers, even though literally everyone, and I'm not joking about this, is like, this book is fascist as all hell, including, Paul Verhoeven, who looked at it and was like, this is terrible. I'm just going to like sort of do my own thing. But like, let's be real here. I'm so shocked that this dude is like, no. like here's what I'm thinking with the Starship Troopers remake is Neil Blomkamp good. I know they've remade RoboCop and Total Recall, and those were both literally horrible and missed the point. But what if I missed the point the most of all the Paul Verhoeven remakes? What if I remake Paul Verhoeven so bad that no one can remake it better than how bad I do it. This is like, I cannot believe anyone would think, like, I don't know, Starship Troopers is a real interesting movie because when it came out, everyone was like, this is just a dumb movie. And then, like, I remember watching it with my friends in high school, and at the end, you see, Neil Patrick Harris in the whole SS basic uniform, and we're like, oh shit, I think this movie's about, like, something else, maybe. I think it's not. I think it's not just a silly side. Like, you, like, really hit you. And I like that no one else at the time, like, Ebert, I don't think got it. Like, there's so many different people who didn't get it at the time, and then people were like started cluing in on the whole deal. And I love that this guy's like what is this fucking dude thinking? Like, I know his whole thing has been since Chappie, like, it's been 10 years since Chappie, you guys. Since Chappie, like, bombed and, like, Elysium didn't work out and, like, his auteur thing didn't take. He was trying to do that Alien thing for a while. Wasn't he thinking of doing a Robocop? Like, he's really thought of doing a lot of different things. But I'm like, dude, like, I feel bad for him because District 9 was a really good movie. I don't think I've liked anything he's done since then. I know, like, Peter Jackson tried to make him a thing, but this is, like, so stupid. I mean, I don't understand, like, why you would want... I get that it is a... See, this is, like, where critical thinking should come into films being picked up, maybe. Is that someone should have went, wait a second, what was the deal with this book? Like, it's pretty well known it's a fascist book, but, like, I get, like, but this is a different version, and we can go back to Starship Troopers. And, like, I get that, but someone should have been like, wait, what is that book represent though? Like, what's the whole deal with it? Like, this isn't a new thing, by the way. Anyway, Zane Power says, will it be better than the Starship Troopers sequels? I mean, I haven't seen any of those. I can't imagine those are, like, as fascist critical as the other, but it's just, like, next level, one of the dumbest ideas I have ever fucking heard. It is anyway. Oh, cheers to you, Zane Paris. I don't know if it's cheers to you. Thank you, sir. Anyway, there's another one that pissed me off too. We'll get to that one. We have a few things. Saw 11, which apparently was pitched, and after Saw 10, I'm not a big Saw guy, but I thought this was kind of interesting, so I wanted to talk about it. Saw 11 apparently has been sort of stalled, and it's mostly because of kind of management issues have just stopped this movie from what is being reported. A lot of people think Lionsgate is sort of stalling so they can make a reboot rather than follow up Saw 10. I don't really... I think that's sort of dumb, but I think supposedly a lot of people are theorizing, and it's not a dumb thing. It's not the Matt Reeves, James Gunn thing that I'm just like not... I just don't have any time for. The Lionsgate, a lot of people think, are waiting to see what happens with Final Destination and saying, like, okay, which way should we go with these things? But it sort of sucks that it sounds like what they're doing. I did Yellow. Hello, Yellow. That's a cool name. I talked about at the beginning of the show. So if you go to the beginning of the show, I do a whole thing on all the Warner Bros. Stuff. But it kind of stinks that, like, they set up supposedly Saw 10 with Tobin Bell for another one. To me, it's like, make up your mind, or, like, be clear with the creative people, because it sounds like they're talking to the press and being like, I don't know, just got killed because, like, the executives suck, is not is not a good deal to me. Like, that doesn't make, I don't know, it's like, what are you doing here? Like, just, like, come up with a clear plan, or saying, like, we're not sure, we want to see where Final Destination goes, or we want to see where this goes, and we kind of want to feel out the market. I think if I was working, I'd go, okay, that's fine, you know. I understand that, but if they're gonna do like this, it's like you're just sort of like jerking everyone around. Like, it's just, I don't like people who do that sort of thing. So, what about Spiral? Oh yeah, I forgot about Spiral. I have not seen. I was gonna see Spiral maybe, and I didn't. Remember, like, a lot of, because that was like his thing. He was like, well, Jordan Peele can make a, like, he said that. It's not me reading into it. Like if Jordan Peele can go from comedy to horror, maybe I can too. And he did like a Saw thing, which seemed like a good idea, but I don't think anyone. Anyway, where are we? Okay, sorry. So this is about the Tarantino last movie. Quentin Tarantino is supposedly, there's rumors he could be shooting his next movie at the end of the year. The rumor presently, because supposedly this is part of the California tax credits, like if you apply to a California tax credit and they release what movies get it, it gets released to the public, and supposedly and crew members start talking, and some amount of that has happened. What we have heard is that Brad Pitt, Uma Thurman, and Sam Jackson could be approached to it, and that this is probably not the movie critic, and that he sort of decided when the movie critic fell apart to go in a different direction, which is very Tarantino. Because like look at Inglourious Bastards was supposed to happen after Jackie Brown, and then he like didn't, and then it took him a while, and like I remember in the 2000s people said it's going to star Bruce Willis, Arnold Schwarzenegger, and Stallone, and like all this crazy stuff. So but we'll see. But supposedly that's at least what we know, that it could be shooting at the end of this year or the beginning of next year, and most people think it'll be Brad Pitt, Uma Thurman, Sam Jackson. I'm a little surprised I haven't heard Travolta, but I think Brad Pitt is still, I'm not a huge fan of him, but like he's still a star. They can get people to come in, so I get he probably needs Brad Pitt. I think it would be nice for him and Uma to sort of bury the hatchet and work together again. I think they sort of, I mean, Maya Hawke was in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, so I think they came to some sort of understanding, but it would be nice to see them work together. I also think it'd be cool if Uma Thurman got a comeback. It kind of sucks that Maya Hawke, like every time you see her with her dad, you never see her with her mom. I don't know if that's like a choice, but like I miss Uma Thurman. All right, this is the other thing I'm mad at, guys, and I'm not gonna hold back here. So I heard Disney, there's a Goofy movie, a Goofy movie, right? And they said Disney is going to put out a documentary about a Goofy movie in April. And I know they're not going to even acknowledge that episode of Atlanta where they just talk about the Goofy movie, talk about like all of the backstory to it, which I had never heard of before. In fact, Wikipedia doesn't even have it on there. It's such a like Disney tries to hide this secret. So I guarantee you they're not going to talk about the backstory that I saw in that Atlanta episode. They're going to talk about some other nonsense about the Goofy movie, like how it wasn't made by the black head of Disney Animation that was there for some reason, how he didn't ask them to model dances after certain things. Like all of that's going to be erased so that they can make this other Goofy documentary, because Disney's like fucking erasure. I get it. Everyone's against DEI now, and Disney is too, and they're just going to make this Goofy documentary full of fucking lies. When that Atlanta episode, which, there was no part where it said it was a joke, and so I'm just going to accept it all as fact, like a lot of people did, and just fully sorry. I actually did know people. I was going to just commit to this, but I did know people who were like, did you know all this stuff about the Goofy movie? And I was like, dude, that was a joke. Like, that wasn't a real thing. And they're like, wait, what? So, anyway, when people do that, like, in a couple weeks, just be like, hey, Jim did that. So, I wanted to get ahead of that, because somebody's going to do it. I'm really excited for that TikTok of be like, yeah, but have you seen this Atlanta episode? This is the real story. I want to review that episode, actually. I think it's like really funny. It's like a real funny interpretation of like how many people feel like Goofy is black and all this stuff. But anyway, I do know a few people texted me the next day and go to work and were like, man, did you know all that? I was like, dude, that wasn't real though. Like, what? Maybe I should just make the TikTok and pretend like this is fucking bullshit. No acknowledgement. If I do it, could you all just like play along in the comments? Be like, this is fucking bullshit. Oh man, I'll watch. Part of me was like, when I heard them announce it, in all actuality, it was like, can you, after they did that, make a Goofy movie documentary? Like, I thought that was actually the bolder stance. Like, there's already a joke Goofy movie documentary that's fairly famous. You can't, like, I don't know. That's the part I find bizarre. It's like if someone if someone went, you know what, Best in Show was good, but what if it was like real and not funny? And like, to me, it's like, I get that people worked on Goofy movie and probably want there to be a documentary, but on a theoretical level, I would never do. If I was at Disney, I'd be like, guys, don't do it. Like, just there's no, like, this is a bad idea. He beat us to it. But I was wondering if some people wouldn't get the joke, but I I forget what it's called, but it is like, it's basically like, I think the idea of that people view that Goofy is black and it like references black teen Jews. I do get that. There's certain parts of the Goofy movie I've noticed have aged in a weird way where, like, I think I said this in my review, but when that movie came out, the music of Powerline was like outdated. So like, for teenagers at the time, it was actually not cool Powerline because it was like, we were already like post Death Row, and that was like 1991 kind of thing, and there's like 90s music kind of changed a little more rapidly than music now, I've noticed, like in terms of like culturally and stuff. So anyway, I always thought that interesting because it is a film that aged better, but you know, what about an extremely Goofy movie documentary? I hope they acknowledge that. I am curious, but I did find that is an interesting theoretical question. Like, I do think sometimes like art used to work in a way where, you know, it's like the walk the line thing. Like, we really shouldn't have straight biopics still, but we still have them, and it's never going to stop. And like, anyway, I thought because people were writing these things like, it's over for millennials and stuff, and I was like, why isn't everyone mentioning the Atlanta episode? I just find, anyway, sorry, I was gonna do this whole bit, but maybe I should do it and be like, facts Disney is trying to hide from you. I should just rewatch the Atlanta episode. See, you'd have to watch them side by side, and like, I noticed the comparisons. Anyway, all right, let's talk about what is that? Okay, let's talk about trailers. I have one here and I don't remember what it was, so I'm gonna search that real quick. Oh, that's the okay. I'll talk about now. One Battle After Another, or the Paul Thomas Anderson Leonardo DiCaprio movie. This was just a teaser. I actually thought it was a cool teaser. We got guns shooting off and like people being crazy and like, you know, just quick shots of it, but it made me hyped for it more so than I've been of just the idea of a Leonardo DiCaprio Paul Thomas Anderson movie. So I think it looks cool. Supposedly this is more of a box office play than an awards play, but that also this is one that Warner Brothers was a little confused on what to do. So that's why a end of September date, which is sort of odd for Leonardo DiCaprio movie, but I think it might work out for them in the end because there's not a lot then, and the summer stuff sort of died down, and you have a month before November hits, so it could work out. There were also trailers for let's go through. Don't worry, guys. Sneaks will be the last one. The trailer from Celine Song, The Materialist. Concept wise, a woman in this like love rich poor triangle, that itself is not interesting to me. I did like Past Lives. I'm sort of like, I kind of think the way she's going to do it might be the interesting part, but I've heard sort of there's been mixed early buzz or whatever. But I am kind of, it's also like, how often do we get a big theatrical romance film like this? Is not very often. So I'm sort of like, let's just like let this ride out because we just don't get a lot of those things. We also have oh, hey, Ability. The Together trailer, which looks like, I don't actually understand fully. It seems to be like this couple who are codependent on each other and they're like molding together. I don't know. It looked really weird, and like, I'm not sure about that one, but it looked interesting to say the least. with Alison Brie and Dave Franco. It seemed like a cool movie, but you kind of don't really fully understand the concept, other than that they're like together in a house, and that you see like freaky stuff happen. But I don't know. We also had is it they're fusing together? Is that looked? Ugh, I don't know. And then we have the Freakier Friday trailer. I thought it wasn't kind of. I don't know. I get that the reason it's going theatrical because of the huge numbers for Hocus Pocus 2, and that's why. But to me, it like stank of a straight to Disney thing. The thing about this is having a millennial and a baby boomer switch bodies could be an insanely good movie if you did it right. But it seems like they're just doing like, oh, I'm old and your butt and all the. I don't know. It's just like I have no time for this. Like just like you had something cool there, and you didn't do it. I get it, but like I don't know. That you could have really done something for the context for the Atlanta episode. Okay, the Atlanta episode is basically they made a whole episode about a fictional backstory to a Goofy movie, and that there was a black head of Disney Animation through. I forget they come up with a reason that happened, and it wasn't Eisner and stuff. And as soon as they like mentioned how it happened, I was like, okay, this is obviously not real at this point. But yeah, he was I think he was the head of Disney Animation, or he was directing it, and how it was about his dad and all this stuff, and it's all like completely made up, and it's like a mockumentary type of thing. So that anyway, look up the Atlanta episode. Who asked me that? Where were we? Sorry, Toasty Jackson. That's what that was about. But they made a mockumentary. You should check it out. Well, I don't know where you are and how you can see Atlanta, but I would just type in Atlanta Goofy movie episode and find the episode name and watch that. You don't need to watch any other. It is none of the characters in Atlanta are in it. I don't think it's just like a mockumentary about the Goofy movie because Donald Glover is the way he is. So the next one is Sneaks. I think I'll do a thing when the Goofy thing comes out for that Atlanta episode. We have Sneaks, which is the trailer for this movie Sneaks, which is about two sneakers for sneakerheads, and one of the sneakers goes away, and all the sneakers are voiced by various celebrities, and Mustard from Not Like Us, our producer of Not Like Us, is the is in it for some reason. This looks, look, I'm gonna say there's before Norm of the North came out. I'm gonna inside baseball, the animation YouTube community. We all knew that was not going to be good. Like everyone was like, "Oh fuck, are you excited for how bad?" Like everyone knew this is going to be bad. That the review is going to be a real bad movie. People are going to try. Like everyone was excited for the disaster. Like we were all just like waiting. Like we knew it was coming. I sort of get that with Sneaks. To be honest with you, not as much. That Norm trailer, you're like, "Oh fuck, this is horrific." Like this is like food fight level. I don't think it's food fight level, but it's like maybe like below Emoji Movie, I'd say around there. So I'm gonna say without question, looks like a legitimately horror. Like we don't get these kind of horrible things. You know, theaters are really back when we have a Sneaks trailer. Like there's just no question. Sneaks means theaters is back. If we can put this shit out in theaters, ooh baby. Ooh baby. I mean, Monster Trucks I'm going to say Monster Trucks we sort of built up, but like we knew it was bad, but like Norm of the North, we didn't have to do nothing for that. But I remember like speaking to like a couple of people, and everyone was like, "Oh shit, that's the that's the thing right there." Like Arctic Dogs a little bit. Arctic Dogs interest nobody gives a shit about that. That is like that went away. I think it's because of the pre-COVID thing. There's just COVID people are like, I can't deal with fucking. All right, we are running out of time. I need to use the bathroom, so we're gonna go through a few things, and we'll take. What I might do is take a break, do obits when I get back, because I don't want to be rushing through the obits. That might not come off super well. Conan is hosting the Oscars again. That was announced super early, and I think we're all happy about that. There's some discussion. So Sadie Sink, this is two things I guess we should definitely talk about. Sadie Sink, we keep hearing was going to be Jean Grey. It turned out she's going to be in the Spider-Man 4, which sort of eliminates her from being Jean Grey, although a lot of people thought she would be. But I think the problem with that is, although Spider-Man, Sony has a deal with Marvel, and under this deal, they have to have a Marvel character in the Spider-Man movie. That's part of the deal there. Having any X-Men character in a Spider-Man movie would mean they'd have to attach Lauren Schuler Donner to it, and apparently that is like very much a no-go for Sony. So if you are appearing in a Spider-Man movie, you're probably not an X-Men character at present, is what a lot of people are saying. No one knows who she is playing. I've heard people say she's playing Mary Jane because Zendaya is MJ, which I was like, please don't do that. Please don't do that. That is the worst idea ever. But we don't know, but apparently a lot of the people who said they thought she was what they heard she was Jean Grey, it's turned out not to be. Now, they could be off, and Sony can be like, oh, fuck, we'd love to have Jean Grey in a Spider-Man 4. And you can put Lauren Schuler Donner in here for that and all that. Maybe they worked out several deals and there's a lot of contingencies there. That's, I guess, possible. But for most people, she's not playing Jean Grey. We don't know who she's playing. I don't think from what people who have looked into it have said, her playing Firestorm, whatever, that character's a little too like obscure. It's probably a bigger one, but no one knows who it is. I really hope it's not MJ, because I can tell people are going to read into that, and we're not going to get good stuff from that kind of a thing. We also heard that there's going to be a new Barry Jenkins movie, and Glenn Powell will star in it, called The Natural Order. It's basically someone going through space finding the key to life or whatever, or eternal life sort of thing. It sounds kind of... It sounds like it could be cool. I don't know. I'm kind of like happy for Glenn Powell, and I'm glad Barry Jenkins is getting to do another big budget thing. I kind of like his smaller budget stuff, but maybe he's like, let me just take my moment and stuff like that. So we'll see. I've heard that Gwen Stacy, Javier Portello said Gwen Stacy for Sadie Sink. I've heard that as well, but we'll see. We don't really. That hissing noise is my heater. Talk about Jonathan Majors. I mean, he's back with that magazine Dreams, and I don't think he's really going to fully come back. I think he's sort of messed up. Also, it's like when you're in a crazy thing like that, don't do interviews like that. That hurt him more than like I don't know. But the other thing is, like, I wish he would just go like it's been revealed so many times that Marvel canceled Kang because it wasn't received well, and that was because he was getting canceled anyway. They're like, oh yeah, we got rid of him. It was like, just don't worry about it. Like, apparently it was going to get dealt with before Loki and in a different way, but they really just like pushed him out the door and whatever with that. So apparently, first off, I guess these are three kind of quicker things, and then we'll get into some box office stuff. And then, good night, Dan. Thank you for being here. Thank you for holding on as much as you can. I really appreciate it, man. You actually like my Funkos. Thank you. First off, it's going to be a Ted Lasso season 4. I sort of think this is a terrible idea because I'd love a Woody and Felix. I think Felix is a little too weird for Woody. I think that's the problem. But I think kind of the moment for Ted Lasso is gone. I think that's like a Joe Biden president sort of deal. But we'll see. And then we have... I just think it's a bad idea. Like, you moved on. Like, maybe have it come back as a different name or a different concept, but like just another Ted Lasso season to me is like, I don't know. Did I talk about it last week? I think it was sewn up this week. So anyway, apologies. Moving on. We got Cujo remake directed by Darren Aronofsky. This sounds like a bad idea at first, a Cujo remake, but I think with Darren Aronofsky it could be cool. A lot of people think that his like been caught stealing, that means it's bad because he's going to this. It might not mean that. It might be this is sort of a payday for him sort of thing, but we'll see. We don't really know, but it's at least an interesting idea. I think Cujo wasn't Carpenter supposed to do that, and then he because of the thing ended up with Christine or something. I think that's no. He was supposed to do Firestarter. Jesus, the '80s had too many things. And I think if it's a cool director like Darren Aronofsky, it like to me I wouldn't mind a horror remake if it's like somebody where it's like I don't know that could be interesting. I'm a little open to it at least because he's doing it, but we'll see what happens there. Or he could be like, oh shit, I shouldn't have signed this like Greta Gerwig after he has a big hit. So maybe it'll be different. We are hearing another kind of franchise that's tied to a specific time period. The Bourne movie rights are being shipped around to other studios other than Universal. Most people think Universal will buy it back, specifically because it's one of Universal's big franchises. I'm a little surprised. I'm also surprised because like I don't know if it's like worth as much anymore. Like it's sort of like something that like died away. I think I said somewhere, and I forget it was on a live stream or something, that I was kind of surprised when you really think of the influence that series had, how the John Wick influence has sort of, in terms of years, really overtaken it, because I think by the time the first John Wick, it was about 10 years since that second Bourne movie that influenced like every blockbuster had this shaky cam shit because of the fight scenes. And then John Wick happened and like that was just out of style immediately. And I kind of do think, and like we're still in that era in a way, because it was like they did a really good job. And I just don't think like if you're going to do Bourne and you did it in a John Wick style, that wouldn't be the point. So I'm like, I don't know how you would. I'm also like not a big fan of those movies. I don't think they're that great. I kind of think they sort of, the amnesia thing like went too long, and it's just like, anyway. Yeah, I didn't watch the Ballerina show, but I just think it's like, I don't think it's a great time to shop them around. I don't like, unless you have a really great take or something, it's just not. Taken 3 is a misunderstood masterpiece. Okay. So to talk about Snow White, since it is in the thumbnail, there is a big concern about the box office of Snow White. Creech reunion. Thank you, Toasty Jackson. Maybe at some point, we'll see. Cheers to you, sir. Or ma'am, or person. Sorry, I assume there. I'm going to take another drink just for myself. But thank you for the super chat. Creech reunion. I don't know. Maybe he'll come back. If it was a real voice, they would do it at the show, but I don't know. Where were we going? So there is a real concern about Snow White and the box office here. What we're seeing, it didn't open. Amazingly, they're saying it's going to make about 45 million. I think what kind of doesn't help it, because they need to, they wanted to make like huge amounts of money. Because these things, let's be real, with all these Disney remakes, they are heavily box office wise movies. They're not really, there's no money in these things merchandise wise, other than like the only merch I see of any of them that goes on past the movie was The Little Mermaid. The other ones, like, they're in the discount bins, and they don't do well on streaming past the week it comes out. Wait, David Cronenberg? What is this? This is just the headline. David Cronenberg thinks the brutalist AI backlash was a smear campaign by other Oscar nominees, Harvey Weinstein kind of thing. Yeah, duh, dude. I thought that too. But thanks, Cronenberg. But yeah, there's kind of a feeling that one, Snow White is their literally oldest property imaginable. Most of the people who are nostalgic for it are like, like dead and stuff. So it's like sort of a weirder property, and people are projecting that this could be like what happened with Dumbo, where like that's a very older property, and even though lots of people remember it, I think the whole controversy with Rachel Zegler and all this stuff, it seems like most conservative people just don't like her because she doesn't like Trump. I sort of think her shitting on the original, that's like what every star of these things does and all that stuff. But my main thing is like I think it's like Disney has very little. Any studio has so little movies that make film history in a sense. And Snow White is like one of their legitimate ones, and they just sort of like let it. They're just like remaking it is silly, but it's also like, couldn't you have made more money by just re-releasing Snow White and giving it a decent ad campaign like you used to? Like how much money are they like losing by not re-releasing this stuff? Because like I think if you re-release like Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast, like all these movies, when we're in a time where people will see older movies in theaters more so than it's been in like a long time, the remake idea just doesn't hold a lot of water to me. Like it financially doesn't make a lot of sense. Like you could just say, okay, Snow White's not on Disney Plus right now. We remastered it. It's going to theaters and it'll be back on Disney Plus in 6 months. I think that could work out for you. And you know, anyway, so before I'm going to take a break after this box office thing, and then we'll talk about obits when I get back and the two segments, which I'm regretting because it's late. So if you have, anyway, give me some energy, I appreciate it. But box office last weekend was one of the worst box office weekends since 1996 in terms of total box office, about $50 million, $55 million. It was not good. That is not where we should do box office wise. And although certain times we're doing better than last year, this was really bad with Novocaine and Black Bag. And it was a good box office weekend. I mean, we had things like, you know, the Looney Tunes doing as well as they did. Black Bag, a good Sonnenberg film, which I'd like to see. Novocaine, which was an original concept. And then it just, none of it took more than, like, Novocaine was number one with $8 million, which is very bad. This is just not the place box office wise you want to be. Hopefully things will turn around soon, but we don't know. Right now, it's just sort of this is not good going into the year. I think that's why you're hearing a lot of studios be nervous about their slates and like what's going to happen in 2025, because like the box office itself isn't in a good place. So like if you're worried about your movie, could it be even worse than you're speculating because the people aren't coming? But I think it's like, was Novocaine going to make like $50 million? Probably not. Was Black Bag going to be that huge of a hit? Probably not. So I think it's like sort of how the weekend shakes out sometimes to me. But it's also not good. Like Novocaine in 2019 would have made probably 10 to like 20 million more dollars. And Black Bag, I don't know, but it's just not really. We're not in a good place right now. I did notice The Day the Earth Blew Up is doing well, but I think it lost some theaters and it's doing okay, but not super great. It has made about $5 million, which I think makes back what Ketchup put into it. So I think it cost like 12 to 15, but Ketchup only paid like 5, I think. So anyway, basically things are fucked. But you know, certain movies are doing good, but not in a good place. All right. So here's what's going to happen. I'm going to take a break because I need to use the bathroom. Then we're going to do obits. Then we will do Betty Boop Snow White and Springtime Silly Symphonies. And I'll be right back after this. Where are we? Okay, I'll be right back right after this. Then we'll talk about those things, and that'll be the end of the show. End questions, but you know. Okay, hello everybody. I do need to come up with. I want to have music over this part, and I noticed that I need to. You should just make like a 20-minute track. Anyway, you know what? I didn't notice the beard kind of fluctuates with the like the color changes. Anyway, hello, how's it going? I should try to match the fade at some point. Anyway, thank you all very much for being here, by the way, tonight. It's been really cool. And yeah, all right. It is a little late, but we're going to get through all this and do the things. If anyone wants to, I know, sorry to bring up the super chat so much. Just helping me keep doing it. But if you would like to give me more energy with this, it's only 60 calories. What is the deal with this energy drink? There's a lot of natural caffeine. Oh, it must be why I feel so bad. If you would like to do super chat during this end part of the show, this is your last chance. If you would like to do so, by the way, if you ever do one when I'm doing an Insta premiere, I will read that super chat on later. So if you see an Insta premiere and want to do that, you can. I think I've said that before, and then I always forget. All right, so the obits, I want to talk about these quickly, I guess. We lost David Stephen Cohen, who was the head writer of Courage the Cowardly Dog. He was 58. That was kind of a surprise, I think, for most people. I always thought that show was very well written. It's a very heavy concept show and very good at it. And everything I'd heard about this guy before, and I've always heard really nice things about him, and everything he could do with that. Thank you, Mandela Butterfly. I always like the Mandela Butterfly $1 super chat. If Mandela Butterfly ever has a question in the super chat, but I like the $1 ones. Cheers to you, Mandela Butterfly. As well as we lost George Foreman, boxing legend and Panini Press legend, I think. As well as Jan Schwarzenman, who was an actor who's in Good Burger, among other things. Wings Hauser, who is a legend of the B-movie direct-to-video level. And then the composer of Ralph Bakshi's Wizards, Andrew Belling, died as well this week. So some pretty big ones there. All right. So we're going to talk about some Depression-era cartoons, baby. That's what we're doing tonight. And, okay. And, the first one, when I say Depression era, did I write down the, okay. Hold on. I just want to have it up. Sorry. Okay, so there's a date I need to have for this. So first, let's talk about Springtime. This is from 1929. In fact, it came out in October 29, which is important. Now, this is sort of, I think, with the Silly Symphonies, this is the first of the Silly Symphonies, first off, that is credited, the credited director is Ub Iwerks, and not Walt Disney, which is surprising. I think there's only like 4 of the Silly Symphonies that Ub Iwerks has a credit on. I'm sort of doing these Silly Symphonies because they're so like seasonal specific. Since it's the first day of spring, I thought, let's do Springtime, yay. And I would like to continue doing this series where I talk about like the Ub Iwerks Disney animation shorts. I don't know if I'll continue doing all the Disney public domain things, but once we finish with Ub Iwerks, we'll see how I feel. However, this is sort of similar to his first Silly Symphonies, not the one between him, Terrible Toreador, I think. This is the third one. The first one was Skeleton Dance, and this is the same thing with Skeleton Dance. It's sort of like a jam drawing. There's like no plot to this whatsoever. You basically are watching flowers, ladybugs, centipedes, birds, and frogs all dance around having a good time. You hear music from you hear various music in it and all this stuff. Now, this is a fun little short. There's not much to talk about there. You watch all those things dance around. You see things fight together. There's showers and all that stuff. Now, imagine you're watching this. You're having a good time. But okay, here's the real thing with this. Imagine you're coming to the theater. Now you're thinking, what is the context of the world in October 1929? Well, according to many people, this came out before a major event in October 1929. But according to more people, this came out on the exact day of the 1929 stock market crash. So imagine the stock market crashed completely. Everyone has no money, and then you see springtime. Imagine watching frogs and ladybugs dance around while you wonder, how are you going to feed yourself and your family? Is the bread line going to be too long today? Should I jump out of this building? These are all questions people had while potentially watching this short. I was kind of shocked to find out that this springtime came out. Like, this is such a loose, fun thing. And like, I'm like, wait, you're telling me like most of the people watch this? Like, that's the time they watched this specifically? Like, I've seen films from around the Depression. I've never seen a film that came out like literally at the beginning of the fucking Depression. Like, this is like, and every time I see a date listed, because everybody writes, it came out before the stock market crash. But every date I found is the date of the stock market crash. So there's definitely someone who's like, this is the worst day ever working at the stock market. I just want to watch a cartoon. And can you imagine you come in and watch this? And I will say, it is really hard to like, this is a very loose thing. You're sort of like, you can definitely get within your own thoughts. I cannot imagine watching this short and being like, what the fuck am I going to do at the same time? Sounds a completely bizarre experience, but that is 100% what was going on. You can say I'm projecting, but also they were projecting it for people who were definitely freaking out at the time. There's no, like, this is a fun, cute short, but knowing like this, the fun, cute short that was going on while people were like, holy shit, my boss just jumped out the window. What the fuck am I going to do? Is, yeah, it's hilarious. I don't know. I'm sorry. I can't get around that. But I do like some of these, like one, they have reviews on the Wikipedia. It was like, a panic, another contribution to the entertainment of the nation. It's like, oh my god! All of these are like, man, this is a fun movie. Man, you thought people ignored stuff then? I just can't imagine like the amount of people, because this is a short you can definitely like watch, but you're not really watching because there's no plot, and you know, if you have a lot going on in your head, because I had to, the first time there's like stuff going on, like I felt like I wasn't concentrating, even though I'm watching it, because you do kind of lose yourself in it. I don't think it's as arresting as Skeleton Dance. I think Skeleton Dance has a great vibe to it, thus why it's like lived on for so long. And I'm starting discovering as I'm going through these silly symphonies that Ub and those guys were just like kind of messing around and like having jam drawings while they made the silly symphonies. And like the Mickey Mouse thing was where they like structured it out a little bit, or not that those are like the most structured, but anyway, it is hilarious to me that this is the short people were watching during the Great Depression. I know that it's like super dark, but that is the actual context. It is like, it definitely came out at that time. It was definitely a new short in theaters, and I cannot imagine dealing with that while watching this short. That is just next level, like insane with this. So anyway, you know, actually, you bring up Gold Diggers 1933. There is a really great, the Wild Boys of the Road, and there's a part where the girl in it, because it's directed by William Wellman, is the woman who would be his wife for like most of his life, and she was in Gold Diggers of 1933. That's how he met her, and every time she's humming a tune, it's while they're like begging for food, she's humming or singing songs from Gold Diggers 1933, which I always thought was a really smart move, because that was the pop music. But can you imagine? It's like, you know, the Depression, you're like singing like Make It Rain, which I guess I literally did. All right, let's move on to the next. I thought that was pretty wild, but I haven't even, this isn't as wild Do I have anything else? Oh, okay. Sorry. Before I hope I'll have to definitely do the timestamps tonight. The other thing with this cartoon, before I do this, is this cartoon makes an appearance in 101 Dalmatians when the Dalmatian puppies are watching TV in Jasper and Horace's place. Apparently, this cartoon is on the TV at one point. If I can figure out where that is, I will have it in the short. But I thought that was interesting. But it's a fun little short. It's just probably not a lot of fun to watch when you think about how you are completely broke. It might be worth watching Secrets of Another Box. Oh boy. All right, so let's talk about the other short, and then after this we will do. Sorry, this is what movie came out when the recession hit in 08? It was sort of late 08. So Hancock, I think, was in the summer. If it was in the summer, because I've heard people say The Dark Knight and stuff, it was like I don't think there wasn't. I forget what the first recession movie was. I think Up in the Air was definitely probably the first one to really get into it in a way. But I don't remember what came out in late 2008. You'd have to look at the dates of those. Anyway, sorry. Wait. Jordan Slough, watch Wild Boys of the Road. It's legitimately a really great movie. And it's one of my faves. And I have a review of it because it's William Wellman. I've done all those. So, in 1933, still in the Depression, Betty Boop made a cartoon of Snow White. This is actually kind of a cool idea with this. This is, I'll get more into the background of it, but I want to talk about the cartoon itself first. The one thing I like about this is it's very much a Snow White cartoon that's like, you kind of know the story, so we're just going to skim through it, which I think is like a smart idea, actually. You see, but first off, you see the evil queen, who in this is actually not attractive, which I thought was like a funnier concept. I was wondering, like, I know Disney did it that way, but I was like, wouldn't it be funnier if she was like, who's the fairest of them all, and she was like not really beautiful? Like, wouldn't that be like a funnier juxtaposition? But whatever, and like talking about beauty and like whatever. I thought that was a more interesting one. Betty Boop shows up to see her stepmother, is then like, they like tie her to a tree, and it's like, and by two knights who are both Bimbo and Coco the clown, and Bimbo, her boyfriend. And it's very much like they try to bury her, and then they go down this thing, and the animation's like really weird. And then Cab Calloway shows up and does a whole thing. This is the second of the Cab Calloway Fleischer shorts, and it's very surreal and weird. And they fight the evil queen and turn her inside out, which was a big cartoon thing. I guess the animation of that looked cool, but that's not what's cool about this. And I'm going to be real with you. What is actually cool about this? This was animated by one dude, Randall Crandall. He received the opportunity to make this Snow White cartoon because this cartoon feels like a jam, weird, surreal thing. It was, but just this one guy. It's credited to the Fleischers, but it is actually Roland Crandall. I'm going to say that, Roland Crandall, because he deserves all the credit. They gave him the opportunity to make Snow White. A lot of people say so he wouldn't leave the studio. I think it's because he was like, I want to just do a short myself, and who knows. But apparently this was his reward for several years of devotion to the Fleischer studio. But it took him 6 months to complete, and is considered his masterwork and an important milestone in the golden age of American animation, is the quote. And that's what I kept saying everywhere. And you can tell because it's weird, it's strange. The animation is very fluid and weird, and like it feels like somebody's sort of just like going off. Particularly like, I love like Snow White's in a snowball at some point because she fell down this hill, and then instead of being in the glass case, she's frozen in it. Goes through the Seven Dwarfs house. The Seven Dwarfs ski with her down a ski slope, and that's the end of it. But and then all this stuff happens. It's just like he's having a lot of animation fun with it, and you can tell. And I think that is like, he's doing Ub Iwerks shit, because that is the first couple Mickey Mouses were just Ub Iwerks. And I wouldn't have known this. Like, I should bring this up more. Please actually research the stuff you like, because oftentimes you will find a thing that you will respect it even more. Sometimes it's like the reverse, but not often. But with this, it's like I had seen this short before. I always thought it was kind of cool. I like the Cab Calloway shorts and the rotoscoping and stuff like that. But like the fact that this is one dude made a Fleischer cartoon, and like I don't think the Fleischer trying to steal credit. It's probably like they just like had the card and like that's sort of how it was back then. But I don't know the whole deal with this animator, but I have a lot of respect because this is definitely like way weirder than the other Cab Calloway things. The rotoscoping is great and how they like he changes to the other guy and all this stuff. It is such an amazing thing. I one thing I've liked about doing these like older cartoons is I find out about like all this cool backstory and all these amazing animators of the time and what they're really doing to the medium. And like I felt that way when we did the studio one, whatever it's called, with Donald Duck and Porky, and this was like a nice surprise also. So like as we're all talking about Snow White, and I would like to review the old one at some point soon, but I do think this is probably next to obviously the Disney feature is like a big major moment in animation and all that stuff. This is another major moment in animation from Snow White, and probably I think maybe the only other animated Snow White in the National Registry of Historic Films or whatever. But I read sources on this. I read Wikipedia and I looked up several different blogs about the subject. To be honest with you, Yellow. I do try to research and find. Sometimes it's like, but if it's repeated several times, I believe it to be true. I can't look into Roland Crandall, but I think what he did here is really interesting, really weird, kind of like the top of what Fleischer Studio could do. But I don't want to say it's the top of what Fleischer Studio can do. It's the top of what Roland Crandall could do, and he deserves all this respect for making his own individual Betty Boop short. I think it says a lot about the Fleischer Studio that they would let him do this. He eventually would leave the Fleischer Studio when it became famous, because when it became Famous Studios, not became famous, it was already famous. When it became Famous Studios, which sounds probably the right thing doing. He sort of retired after that, but man, I don't know much about this guy. I couldn't find many shorts other than him. I'm a little curious to find them, but he really showed what he could do in this, and like how he could like even like when they turn, like she turns into a dragon and turn her inside out. Even that was really impressive. It's like this is really fun. If you're looking for a good Betty Boop short, and I know we're talking about Snow White now, and maybe you can get more people interested. This is a great thing. This is so alive and weird and strange. I mean, how do you go from like weird dwarves to this vivid animation to Cab Calloway to being traced by a dragon, and then the dragon turns inside out, and then they dance, and Coco and Bimbo and Betty are all there together. It doesn't make any sense. It's super weird. It's barely interested in telling Snow White, but it's mainly interested in being weird and having cool animation, and that's one of the best things in life anyway. So I really like Betty Boop's Snow White 1933. My kids thought it was a little too weird, but I quite like it. I think it is a great little short, and I think it shows how impressive some of these old animators really could be, and how anyone could come up with this many different ideas in one short and get it all to work. Really shows what Roland Crandall could do. Okay. I almost didn't do the Betty Boop thing, and then I read that and I was like, I feel like I gotta do the Betty Boop thing. That's what I fucking think. Alright. I'm sure like that guy's relatives are like, you did what? Leave me alone. Alright, let's do the questions. Was Sinram here? I thought Sinram was here. Well, Sinram was here, but I'm going to answer his question first. Sinram says, Ballerina, Jurassic World, Rebirth. But, hold on. Up. Hold on. Questions below. Okay. I do need to I need to write down my Mickey Mouse slasher idea, because I have an idea and okay. Sinram says, Ballerina, Jurassic World, Rebirth, Mission Impossible 8, James Gunn's Superman are all scheduled for release this summer. Which one are you most looking forward to seeing, and which one do you think will make the most money? To be honest with you, I'd say Superman and Superman, because my kids want to see it. And I do get excited for a Superman movie. I'll give you a second one, since I just said the same thing. Is I think I would probably go Superman, Mission Impossible 8, Jurassic World, and then Ballerina, probably. And I think, honestly, box office wise, it'll probably go Superman, Jurassic World, Mission Impossible 8, Ballerinas. What I would predict. I think I did a pretty good job. All right. Nathaniel Fogo, do you believe there's a possible way for WWE to ever rise from the downfall they're currently in? That's a good question, Nathaniel Fogo. I would say firing David Zaslav. That would be my 100% first choice. First and only choice. And Austin said, "Hey Jim, what a great show. I hope you're doing well. Going to keep my last question quick. Just got home. My question for you is, can you 5 degrees find a connection from Bugs Bunny to Kevin James? Good luck." Bugs Bunny. Okay, so Kevin James is often in Adam Sandler movies. Adam Sandler was in the movie Airheads with Brendan Fraser, who is in Looney Tunes Back in Action. I did it. All right. I've seen Airheads a lot of times. All right. Wait, Wesley, did you post yours twice? Or am I just... Oh, you were redacted. You wanted to write it again. Never mind. Cornbread said, "Hey, Jim. Great answer for Austin's question. Very insightful. It got me thinking, with Looney Tunes finally getting theirs, what's some other cartoons that are overdue for a feature film?" I need to stay awake, so give me a break with this one. I would say Felix, but he had one. I think Bugs, obviously, but I think you're saying non-Looney Tunes. I think Felix, if you got somebody, like if you got the Jellystone people, or you got the current Looney Tunes people from Looney Tunes cartoons, yes. I can't think of someone else off the top of my head. I'm sorry. I kind of just want to go Felix. I think honestly, like a very close to the original Rocky Bullwinkle would be cool too. So, question: live action Goofy remake when? No, please no. I'm not even gonna. No. Zane Powers, wouldn't it be better instead of selling the Looney Tunes, we could just wait until David Zaslav is no longer CEO so they can be treated better by a better future Warner Brothers head? I mean, they haven't been bought or there's no offers, even though people said catch up and all that stuff. But we'll see. Have you mentioned that Looney Tunes were bought by Tubi? They were not bought by Tubi. It's just certain shows like the Looney Tunes show and Sylvester and Tweety Mysteries. I don't think I could. I read a few Looney Tunes Tubi articles, and everyone would say they're coming to Tubi, and they'd see the listing, and it would not be the classic Looney Tunes. I'm like, I already knew about this shit. So I don't know, unless I'm like reading the wrong ones or like it was. Anyway, I don't know. Is Creech a good cat name? Not plausible. Yeah, I think it is. Favorite juice, Nathaniel Fogo? Probably like Hawaiian Punch. No, like orange juice maybe. I'm not a big juice guy, really. I only just drink water and coffee. Not plausible. Was the Powerline music in a Goofy movie supposed to be like 80s music in a 90s decade? Was it intentionally supposed to be outdated? That is a good question. I don't think it was. I mean, at the time, the thing about the Disney stuff in the 90s is like, there was such a turn between when that came out and like the 2000s, where like, if I was in middle school or high school and I told someone I watched the Disney Channel, I would probably get beat up. And then by like, when Hannah Montana hit, it was like, that was fine. So I think it was just like, to us at the time, it was just like, oh, they're really outdated. But like, you can't keep up with 90s music trends. But it was like Bobby Brown, and like Bobby Brown in, My Prerogative is not the same as like, by that point, like TLC had happened, and like Dr. Dre and Death Row had come and went, and like you're in 90s G-Funk going into Wu-Tang. It's just like, but I think film production doesn't work with how music changes and stuff. So it's like hard to do something like that in general, but I think they're trying to do a pop star, but like even Michael Jackson wasn't super cool at that time, and they kind of tried to do Teddy Riley, but they went more Prince, and that one. Anyway, I don't think it was supposed to be. I think it takes a long time to make movies, and music doesn't stop for film production. Black Saxwinkle, should they reboot Goofy movie with Kevin James? I mean, that I'm okay with, actually. Zane Powers, have you Where's Zane Powers? Where we go? Oh, have you ever believed it was actually a good thing when an actor died young, like Marilyn Monroe, James? I've heard that theory before. Like, would it have been better? Like, did we need like Hendrix disco or something like that? I disagree with that. I'm like, I part of me is like, it's not good to think about that stuff because you get so speculative and you never know what would have really happened with someone and stuff like that. But I don't really feel that way. I think, there's certain, I think it would have changed how we feel about James Dean. I don't think it would be an icon the way it was, or Marilyn Monroe, because you look at other actors, like you don't think of Brando as on the waterfront, you think of him as the Godfather. And like, what if James Dean was in like, of course, like Mean Streets, or I'm just like making shit up, but like, you know what I mean? Like your association would have changed, but our association is like 4 movies and it stayed that way. So like, to me, it's like, it would have just been totally different. It wouldn't have been the same thing. Like if Peter Fonda died after Easy Rider, well, okay, that doesn't work. He's always associated with that. Okay, you get what I don't think it's a good thing, basically. Question: what do you think if El Coco, Spanish Boogeyman, was the villain of Coco 2? I'm okay with that. Vinto Samurai, what kind of games are you into? I'm assuming you mean video games. I play Mario Kart sometimes. I'm not a gamer. I'm sorry. I like Tetris, Donkey Kong 3, but I really don't play. Although my sister has Turtles in Time in her house, and that is my favorite. I was having fun there. Black Seahawks Winkle. As a kid watching film, did the music being outdated ever take you out of it, or did you notice it? As a teenager, I was very critical of that stuff. As a kid, I didn't notice it all. Now I notice what era and it triggers stuff in me. But at the time, I'd be like, oh, they don't get it. Fucking studios and stuff like that. Wes, in your question, who are your top 3 picks for celebrity guests if they brought back the Muppet Show today? This is an amazing question. Best Muppet Show people. Sabrina Carpenter is made to be a Muppet Show person. I don't know if she would be the best. It just makes the most sense. Keegan-Michael Key would be amazing. Flat out. And then my other one, see, there's so many people, like I think Charlie XCX or Chappell Roan or Kendrick Lamar or Busta Rhymes or I used to say Snoop Dogg, but I'm sort of not into him right now. People like that, but I'm gonna say Joel Hodgson. I think it would be cool to see a Mystery Science Theater Muppet crossover. I know I'm being selfish, but it's my top 3. When are we getting a Bug's Life 2 and a Thanafoga? Well, I don't know. Disney, who knows with those guys? Embla T, what exactly does the ambassador of Hollywood mean when Flight Risk flopped and John Voight probably won't do any better? Also, a working man proved that Sloan is the true ambassador. I don't understand what that role would be, and I don't think those guys understand what it would be either. And you can't really like oversee companies like that in that way, but whatever. Black Saxophone, should they just redo Space Jam but with Paul Blart? Again, I think it's a great idea. That would be awesome. We're just going to do these questions and then we'll be done. I mean, you knew that. But Zane Powers, has there ever been a movie that was purposely frustrated, poorly made train wreck of film, and then they say it was the point and you thought it was good, or do they do a good job? I can't think of one, but that was poorly made train wreck. I think the first Star Wars was considered that. And I think that first one really worked, despite like you can tell it was like real fly by the seat of your pants. So Modelo Butterfly to be bought Looney Tunes. I wish, but no, they did not. Cornbread. I had mentioned earlier in the show Warner Brothers putting out Minecraft movie, but fun fact, they're also the only studio with video game movies this year with Mortal Kombat. Thoughts? I think those are both like good properties. I'm really curious about Minecraft because I've heard more adults talk about that being big than kids. So we'll see about that one. I don't think it's like Sonic, because like, I know Jack Black is playing Steve, but like it's not. Anyway, I don't think it's the same thing as a Mario. I don't think it's going to be a Mario Sonic hit. To be honest with you, I think it'll still. I think maybe Five Nights at Freddy's, but I don't know. We'll see. I don't think it'll bomb, but I just don't think it's going to be like Sonic or Mario. I don't know. But I know a lot of people play it, but people say that about a lot of video game movies that don't do well, so we'll see. Embla T, do the shareholders deserve losing money? Yes. All rich people should lose their money. How would the Russos reboot Felix the Cat? Austin, why would you say that to me? I don't want to think about that poorly. I don't want them doing it. Don't say that. No, Austin, why did you say that? I don't. Now that's in my head. Thanks a lot. Zane Powers, thoughts on David Heyman and Amy Pascal considering to develop the next Bond? I don't like Amy Pascal at all, to be honest with you. David Heyman's good. I've heard. I should have brought this up, and I didn't. I'm not sure everyone's interested in Bond, but I have heard Alfonso Cuarón is kind of who he's trying to get because Amazon wants a big opening for his Bond. So, cornbread, yeah, silly 70s springtime is fun all, but I have a seasonal allergies in spring, so I want it banned. Thoughts? Agreed. You should. Oh, okay. Nathaniel Fogey. That is another way, but I like bringing up Airhead. So, St. Paris. I wrote down Saw as a reminder of what to ask, but I forgot what it was. What do you think I was going to ask? About the Saw 11 thing? I talked about it earlier. That it's getting canceled. Okay. I am getting a little tired, so I'm not sure. Where the fuck are we in this? I'm gonna go from here. Can you remember like one non-Dunkachino scene from Jack Ruggiero after we watched it last week? The dinner scene where the kid has the pepper thing on his head, and then why Johnny Depp was in it with a Justin Bieber shirt, which is a joke that I do not get. Oh my god. Okay, I might. Where? YouTube is not cooperating. Okay. Nathaniel Fogel, you'll be seeing Kaidu vs. Acme if you have a chance to come out of theaters, right? Yes, I would. If you were forced to do a body shop with someone, who would it be? What kind of crazy hijinks would you get up to? I don't want to get banned, so I'm not gonna get into that. What classic? Just wouldn't be. Yeah. What classic early 2000s flick would you see Disney making a sequel to? I probably just Lilo and Stitch. I mean, I don't see what the other ones. Dinosaurs would be cool. Question. Wait, I think I wanted to ask if the argument that Jigsaw actually never kills anyone, they all kill themselves. I mean, that's like a did Charles Manson actually kill anyone kind of question. Austin, do you think the Russos will work with AI James Dean for the Vietnam movie? I mean, I actually think of anyone, they're the most likely to. Westonator, you're like the most pop culture savvy person I know of. What would you say is your biggest pop culture blind spot? Yellowstone. I don't know what that is. I'm actually thinking when people bring it up, I'm just going to bring up Jellystone because that's funny to me. It'll only be funny to me. Is that you mean the show where Yogi's a doctor? What if James Dean was in a Vietnam War? Then that's what we would think of. Turtles in Time? Question? Yes. Favorite needle drop in a movie? Okay, I think I'm sort of fading here. I actually think a lot of the first Guardians is the only thing I can think of right now. Yeah. Zane Powers, if the short for live action Disney remakes comes out to the LDR, does that mean the people who eat that slop are just LDR? What? I don't know what that even means. What the hell even is that? As the kids say. To the Richard Kelly version of Halls, I agree with that. Question: would you not be where you are today if someone played Sonic racing games instead of Mario? You're probably right. I don't know what. What's going on? I'm confused. And has anyone told you stutter too much and you need to go back to speech? No, I'm not speaking from personal experience. What? Okay. These are confusing. I'm going to go now. If I didn't get your question, put it in the comments of this video and I'll answer it later. I think we're done here. Thank you all for coming here. Thank you everyone who gave a super chat. Those being... Okay, this is like... The YouTube scroll thing sometimes is just like not working for me. I'm going to be... No, not... Okay, let me thank Modelo Butterfly, Toasty, Jackson, Zane Powers, Westonator, Bloxy, and Austin. Thank you very much for your super chats. I really appreciate it. I am too tired. LADR comes to later? Later than what? What does that even mean? All right. I'm gonna go. Thank you. Cheers to you all. I think this show will be back Thursday. There might be something tomorrow somewhere. Sometime soon. Thank you all for being here. Thank you for your support. Thank you for watching the recent videos. People are really checking them out. I really love that. Anyway, good night. Thank you all for all your time and for being here and all that stuff. You guys are awesome. I'll see you later. Peace. Have a good night. Get some sleep and subscribe if you would like to.